My last hand, and I've been dealt pocket aces. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my poker vlog. This is episode 14, and this is a fun one. It's the last day of my Vegas trip back in December, and I'll be honest, I did not intend to play at all on this day. I had an afternoon flight back home to New Jersey. I had lost most of the cash I had on me the night before in a non-vlog session. But I walked past the room to get breakfast in the morning, and the games looked so good that I actually ran back upstairs, packed my bags, came down, and sat to play the Aria 2-5, knowing I had only 2 hours at the most, at the absolute max, before I had to get to the airport to make my flight. So this is a pretty fun session. Gonna play a lot of hands in a short amount of time, and it gets off to a wild start right from the get-go. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. In my very second hand dealt, we're in the big blind and there's a straddle to $10. I look down at Queen 4 of clubs, it folds all the way around to me, I toss in the extra $5 and the straddler checks. We're now heads up to a flop of 8, 3 deuce, 2 clubs. I start things off with a check, the straddler bets $15. With a flush draw and some backdoors, I make the call. The turn is now the Queen of Spades. Our hand has improved significantly with top pair, so I check again. The straddler now bets out $60. Certainly not going anywhere at this point. We have top pair and still a very strong flush draw, so I make the call. The river is the king of diamonds. I don't love this card, but it shouldn't hit our opponent too often unless he had a king high club draw. I check. The straddler now bets out $200. This is a tough spot for me. I'm really not sure what hands our opponent is representing here. A set of deuces, threes, eights are certainly possible. There's no straight, no flush out there, no realistic 2-pair that makes a ton of sense other than king queen, and we have the queen of clubs, which is very relevant in this spot. Furthermore, I feel like a set or 2-pair on this driver board with no straight, no flush would want a call. This sizing to me almost feels like he's trying to get a fold. It just doesn't feel right to me. I feel like he's bluffing, and we have an excellent bluff catcher here with a queen, so I make the call. Our opponent turns over king deuce of hearts. So he flopped a deuce, bet it, then bluffed the turn, got there on the river, and went for the full pot size bet, which is a little bit of a surprising line to me, but hey, it worked this time. We're in a big hole to start things off with a limited amount of time to crawl out of it and a limited bankroll to do so. We're gonna be playing a lot of hands, so strap in. In our next hand, we're under the gun +2 and look down at ace-7 offsuit. Short stacked with a time constraint. Looks like a premium to me. Under the gun limps and I open to $15. Small blind and under the gun call. We are 3 ways to a flop of ace-10-6, 2 spades. It checks to me and I'm very happy to continue with top pair here. I bet out $30. Small blind folds, under the gun makes the call. The turn is now the jack of hearts. Under the gun checks. While we do have top pair, the jack isn't a great card as it completes some straights and some reasonable 2-pair holdings. So I check back. The river is the deuce of hearts. Under the gun checks again. I don't think a hand stronger than ours checks here after I check back on the turn, so it's time to go for some additional value. I bet out $40. Under the gun thinks for a little bit, but puts in the call. I table my hand, and we take it down. Solid start to the rebuild journey. For the next hand, we're in the big blind. There's a straddle to $10 and 2 limpers that cut off in the small blind. We look down at an actual premium this time, ace-king suited. I make it $50 to go. The straddler folds, but both limpers call. We're 3 ways to a flop of king, jack, deuce, rainbow. Small blind checks. Now we only have about 220 left in our stack, and the pot is 160. I'm a little afraid of jacks, but no re-raise pre-flop tells me we almost always have the best hand in this spot. They say when you make a bet, you should know exactly what your goal is. Whether you're trying to get a fold, a call, maybe induce a raise, regardless, the outcome you desire should be clear. And for the most part, I agree. However, there are situations like this, I kind of call them like hybrid spots, where I'd be happy with any result. I would like a call, as I'm very confident we have the best hand at this time. However, 2 folds would also be totally fine, picking up a quick $100 multi-way. And that is exactly what we get as both of our opponents fold. They run away scared of our massive stack. In all seriousness, this hand would play very differently if I were deeper. Getting it all in when I'm confident we're ahead with a limited amount of time and a short stack, it's just the best strategy in my opinion. I only have the chips in front of me to play with, no rebuy if we go broke, so we're gonna be playing a short stack strategy this session and getting it in fairly often. In the next one, there's a middle position open to $20. I'm in the cutoff and look down at my favorite hand, Jack 10. While it's not suited, they are both the same color, and that's close enough, right? Sure, good enough for me. I make the call. We are heads up to a flop of Jack 9-7 2 spades. Middle position slows down and checks. We have the whole world on this board and the clock is ticking. Time to build a pot, so I bet out $20. Middle position calls. The turn is now the 8 of hearts. Jack 10, you've done it again, my friend. Middle position checks. I continue with a bet of $50. Now middle position does something I did not expect and check raises to $160. I only have about $280 left. The second nuts, my favorite hand, short stacked. Gotta get to the airport. I'm not wearing a watch. There's absolutely no chance we're folding. Jack 10, don't fail me now. I jam all in and he snap folds. Sir, do not attempt to bluff the short stack on a time constraint when he has his favorite hand. It's not gonna work out well for you. Very happy to take down another one. In our next Aria airport adventure, there's an open from under the gun plus 2 to 25. The cutoff calls, the button calls, and I look down at king queen offsuit. Good enough to get in there, so I make the call, and under the gun completes. We are 5 ways to a flop of king queen 8, 2 spades. A lot of spades today. I'd love to get some money in there ASAP, but I kind of think leading out here would be very suspect, so I check. It checks to the cutoff, who saves us and bets $40. Now we have the green light to go for that raise. I raise it to $100. Under the gun and under the gun plus 1 fold, the cutoff makes the call. Turn is now the 10 of spades. Okay, not bad, just, one of the worst cards in the whole damn deck. However, I now have less than a pot size bet left, and after my check raise on the turn, there's really only one size that makes sense for my story, so I shove all in for 300. This play looks incredibly strong and should fold out just about anything other than a straight or a flush. When taking a semi-bluff line like this, you should have one of two things: very strong blockers, or outs to win the hand if you're called by better. My hand possesses both, as it reduces any possible sets and also gives us a chance to fill up with a full house if we do get called by a straight or flush. Our opponent thinks for a while, but ultimately makes the fold. We rake in another one for the good guys, and just like that, we are unstuck. Legal disclaimer: I have absolutely no idea what I was thinking pre-flop in this hand. I really, truly don't. I look down at 5 deuce of diamonds in the hijack. I limp for $5, no idea why. The cutoff makes it 35 to go. The big blind calls. I'll be completing the action, so I guess I call. 3 ways to a flop of 10-10-3 2 clubs. The flop checks around. The turn is now the 9 of hearts. The big blind checks again. Now I know the cutoff is a very tight player. I take a stab and bet out for $65. The cutoff, as expected, folds, but the big blind makes the call. The river is the 6 of clubs. This card completes just about everything. If he had a drawing hand, it got there. The open-ended straight, the flush, more combinations of a reasonable full house, but the big blind checks. Okay, I get it. He's playing in flow. I bet the turn, and now he checks back. However, if this river completed any of those hands for him, I really think he would lead out here rather than risk a check back. If he had a drawing hand, such as a flush or a straight, if he now has a full house of some kind, I don't think he would risk me checking back and not getting good value here. It's much more likely in this spot that I have a drawing hand and I completed my hand. So now I'm thinking he has a small pocket pair, maybe even a 9 at best. A 10 probably would have raised the turn, afraid of any of those hands completing that we talked about, so I bet out $125. Big blind takes one last look and quickly folds. What started off as a highly questionable pre-flop call turns into a nice little profit based on this runout. Hey, I'll take it. Less than 1 orbit later, I'm in the strata with my kind of hand, 8-6 suited. Middle position opens to 35. The button calls, the big blind calls. Once again, I'm closing the action, getting a great price. You know we're in there. The flop comes ace 9-8, rainbow. We have a pair, folks. We have life. Big blind checks, I check and flow, and it checks around. The turn is now the 8 of diamonds. A true rainbow board, no straight available, no flush even possible, no action on the flop. We definitely have the best hand at this point. However, I don't want to scare anyone off, so I get tricky here and check again. Middle position checks, but the button bails us out and bets $75. The big blind folds. I make the call as I think a raise here would turn my cards essentially face up. Middle position folds and we're heads up. Now looking back, I do actually think a raise would be better in this spot, as there's a lot of bad cards that could come on the river. Not really sure what my opponent has here. Maybe a weak ace of some sort. Anything less, and I think it's unlikely we're getting a call on the river. So I think this is a spot where when you make a hand like this, like an unexpected 8, you just got to put that money in there while you're ahead. River is the jack of spades. I do believe after I call the $75 that the button's going to check back this river a lot of the time, so I decide to lead out. I bet $150 hoping to get a call from any ace, and he snap folds. The fold was so quick that I actually think he had nothing, and the better play would have been to check, allow him some rope to fire a bluff on the river, but still happy to take another one down as our time is drawing to an end, only about 30 minutes left till I have to catch an Uber to the airport. In this next one, we look down at an actual good starting hand, ace queen of hearts. There's an open from middle position to 15, and it folds to me on the button. I make it $40 to go. Our opponent calls, and we're heads up to a flop of king 8 deuce, 2 clubs. Middle position checks, we have nothing at all here, so I check back. Turn is now the 10 of spades. He checks again. We've improved to a gut shot, so I take a stab and bet out $40. Our opponent now stands up in his chair, announces out loud, "I've done it, I've trapped you," picks up a giant red flag, waves it over his head, the table is stunned, the dealer's in disbelief. I don't know what to do, I'm not even mad, I'm just impressed. Okay, obviously I'm exaggerating. What my opponent actually does is min-click check raise up to $80. In my defense, mentally, I am seeing him do exactly what I just described, as that is what a min-click check raise looks like to me. I fold pretty quickly here as I'm pressed for time and don't feel like dealing with his nonsense. All right, we've arrived at my last hand of the session, regardless of the outcome. My flight is at 4. It is 3. I still have to Uber to the airport, get through security, get on the plane. I've made the decision already to play my blinds. This will be my last hand. I'm going to play my button and then go. It just so happens that I look down at pocket aces. My last hand, and I've been dealt pocket aces. Let's go. There's definitely a joke in there somewhere about catching a flight and American Airlines. Feel free to make your own up. Under the gun +2 opens to 20. Middle position calls, and the low jack now raises to $85. This is a beautiful spot, but I have to leave. There's no time to play this one tricky, so even though it looks incredibly strong, I 4-bet to $200. It folds to the low jack, who calls. We are heads up to a flop of king, queen, 10, all spades. This is not the board I was looking for at all. He checks. I do a quick spade check, and nope. It's still a club. However, I literally don't have time to let him catch up or let any free cards come out, so I shove. There's no snap call, which means we're good for the moment. My heart is pounding out of my chest at this moment for multiple reasons. I'm nervous about the hand, nervous about catching my flight. Come on, dude, just fold. After some thought and a very annoyed side glance in my direction, our opponent does put in the fold. After this hand, I rack up, head to the cage, and literally run out the door. Thanks for watching, guys. I really didn't have time to record an outro as I actually ran to my Uber, told the guy to step on it and get to the airport, just barely made my flight. But definitely glad to sneak one last session in before I had to get home till the absolute last minute. Numbers here, in for 500, out for a little over 8. If you've made it this far, a preview of my upcoming vlogs. I'm actually putting together a series, unfortunately titled My Biggest Downswing Ever. Quite a series upcoming. It's a 4-part special event, hopefully just 4 parts. So thank you so much for watching. Be on the lookout for that series. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Good luck at the tables. See you next time. Please let it only be 4 parts. I really enjoy making these videos and they are getting expensive fast.